Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany. Welcome to Randomness, where we talk about a little bit of everything, the deep, the weird, and the real. So take a breath, open your mind, and let's get into it. Today, we're talking about something that should be simple, but somehow isn't: expressing your feelings. Now, you would think it would be natural, right? You feel something, you say it, done. But for so many of us, it's not that easy. We bottle things up. We don't know how to put feelings into words. We express things in ways that come out wrong and make situations worse. Or we swing between saying nothing and exploding with everything all at once. Maybe you were raised in a family where feelings weren't discussed. Or maybe you learned that expressing needs makes you needy. Maybe you've been hurt when you've been vulnerable before, so now you just don't say much of anything. But here's the reality: unexpressed feelings, they don't just go away, they build up. They leak out in passive aggression, resentment, physical symptoms, or eventually explosive outbursts. So learning to express your feelings clearly and effectively is one of the most important life skills you can develop. It improves your relationships, reduces anxiety, helps you get your needs met, and honestly just makes life a little easier. So today we are breaking down why this is hard, what gets in the way, and how to actually get better at it. So let's get into it. First, let's acknowledge why this isn't easy for a lot of people. Maybe we weren't taught how. Most of us didn't grow up with parents modeling healthy emotional expression. We learned to suppress, explode, or manipulate, not to communicate clearly. And sometimes we confuse feelings with thoughts. I feel like you don't care isn't a feeling, it's a thought. Actual feelings are things like sad, angry, scared, hurt, and we often just don't know the difference. Or we have a limited emotional vocabulary. Most people operate with maybe 5 feeling words: mad, sad, happy, scared, and fine. That's not enough nuance to express complex emotions. And vulnerability is terrifying. So expressing feelings, it requires admitting you care about something, which gives it power to hurt you. Maybe we've been punished for expressing feelings before. If you were dismissed, mocked, or rejected when you shared feelings in the past, of course you're hesitant now. Or we don't actually know what we're feeling. And yeah, it sounds a little weird, but a lot of people are so disconnected from their emotions, they can't identify them, even to themselves. We worry about being too much. Especially women and socialized female people are taught that having feelings makes them dramatic, emotional, or high maintenance. We don't want to burden others. We think our feelings are our problem and we should handle them alone, which is BS, by the way. Or maybe we fear the response. What if they get defensive? What if they don't care? What if it makes things worse? All of these are valid reasons, but they are also keeping you stuck in unexpressed emotions that are causing problems anyway. So let's talk about what happens when you don't express your feelings. Of course, you're going to have resentment. It's going to build. Those unspoken hurts and frustrations accumulate. Eventually, you are angry about things from 3 years ago. Then you have physical symptoms appear. Unexpressed emotions get stored in your body. Tension, headaches, stomach issues, chronic pain. Often there's an emotional component. And your relationships suffer. People can't read your mind. If you don't tell them what's wrong, they can't fix it. And if you're walking around upset but claiming you're fine, that creates distance. You leak emotion sideways. Passive aggression, sarcasm, forgetting things, withdrawing. These are always unexpressed feelings come out indirectly. You explode eventually. You can only hold it in for so long. Then something small sets you off and suddenly you're screaming about everything at once. And your anxiety increases because suppressed emotions, they don't disappear. They turn into anxiety. That constant low-grade worry is often unfelt feelings. You lose touch with yourself. When you consistently ignore your feelings, you become disconnected from your inner experience. You don't know what you actually want or need. And you attract unhealthy relationships because when you do not express needs or boundaries, you attract people who are fine with that, often people who will take advantage. Unexpressed feelings aren't neutral, they're actively causing problems. Before you can express feelings to others, you need to identify them to yourself. So here's a little practice, okay? When something isn't, or when something is bothering you, just pause and ask, what am I actually feeling? Not what's wrong, but what emotion am I experiencing? Mad, sad, scared, hurt, disappointed? Then ask, where do I feel it in my body? Is there tightness in your chest? Not in your stomach, tension in your shoulders? This helps you connect to the feeling. What triggered this feeling? Not what's wrong with them, but what specifically happened that brought up this emotion. And what need isn't being met? All feelings point to needs. Anger often means a boundary was crossed. Sadness might mean you need comfort. Fear might mean you need safety. Is this feeling about now, or is it bringing up old stuff? Sometimes present situations trigger past wounds, and the intensity of your reaction is about both. So you need to get into the habit of checking in with yourself regularly. Don't wait until you're, so overwhelmed to start paying attention to your emotions. And most of us, we need a bigger feelings vocabulary, okay? So there's like 5 basic emotions. So let's talk about the emotions beyond the basic 5. So instead of mad, there's frustrated, irritated, resentful, betrayed, bitter, defensive, hostile, annoyed, livid, furious. Instead of sad, we have disappointed, hurt, lonely, gloomy, heartbroken, grief-stricken, discouraged. Instead of happy, content, joyful, peaceful, excited, grateful, hopeful, proud, delighted, satisfied. Instead of scared, anxious, worried, nervous, insecure, threatened, vulnerable, panicked, uneasy. And some other important feelings: ashamed, guilty, embarrassed, jealous, envious, overwhelmed, confused, disconnected, numb, hopeless. The more precisely you can name what you're feeling, the better you can express it. So start noticing nuance. I'm not just sad, I'm disappointed. Gives you and others more information to work with. Here's something important, okay? Expressing feelings is not the same as dumping them on someone. Expressing is taking responsibility for your feelings and communicating them clearly in service of connection or resolution. Dumping is unloading your emotional overwhelm on someone without consideration for their capacity or the relationship. So when you are expressing emotions, it looks like, I'm feeling really overwhelmed and I need to talk to you about it. Do you have space for that right now? And communicating with the intention to be understood and work towards something constructive, taking responsibility for your feelings, being mindful of timing and context. Dumping looks like, word vomiting, everything you're feeling without checking if the other person is available, or using someone as an emotional dumpster without regard for their well-being, repeating the same complaints without taking action, or making your feelings someone else's problem to fix. You can express feelings without making them someone else's burden. It's about how you do it. So here's a simple framework for expressing feelings clearly. So you can be like, I feel, whatever emotion, When, then you put in your specific behavior. Because, then you put in the impact. And I need. Insert request. Okay? So let's break it down. I feel, name the actual feeling, not I feel like you, but an actual emotion word. When, specific behavior, describe the action, not your interpretation. When you don't text me back for hours, not when you ignore me. Because the impact, explain why it affects you. This helps the other person understand. And I need your request. Say what would help. Make it actionable and specific. So, example, I feel hurt when you make jokes about my weight because it makes me feel insecure about my body, and I need you to stop commenting on my appearance. Or I feel lonely when we only see each other once a week because I miss you and I want more connection, and I need us to make more time for each other. So you see how that works? It's clear, specific, and focused on your experience without attacking the other person. Okay, so let's talk about some common mistakes people make when expressing feelings. Don't use you statements that blame, like you always or you never, you make me feel. These put people on defense immediately. And don't bring up every past grievance. Don't stay focused on the current issue. Don't kitchen sink them with everything they've ever done wrong. And don't make assumptions about their intentions. You don't care about me is an assumption. Stick to observable behavior and your feelings about it. Don't express feelings in the heat of intense emotion. If you're seeing red, you might want to take a little break first. Wait until you can communicate without attacking. And don't apologize for having feelings. Don't be like, I'm sorry. I know this is stupid, but no. Stop that. Your feelings are valid and do not apologize for them. Also, don't expect mind reading. Be explicit. Don't hint or expect them to figure it out. And don't make demands disguised as feelings. Like, I feel like you should apologize isn't expressing a feeling, it's making a demand. And don't use feelings as manipulation. I'm sad, so you have to do what I want. Weaponizes emotions rather than expressing them authentically. And different emotions require slightly different approaches. Anger is tricky because it comes out harsh if you're not careful. So wait until you are cooled down a bit and you can say, I'm really angry right now and I need some time before we talk about this. Then get to what's under the anger. Anger is often a secondary emotion, covering hurt, fear, or feeling disrespected. So express the underlying feeling too. Use I statements fiercely. I'm not furious that this happened, not you're such an asshole. Be specific about the behavior that upsets you, not you're always inconsiderate, but when you canceled our plans last minute without explanation, I felt disrespected. Sadness is vulnerable, which makes it hard to express. Let yourself be sad. Don't minimize it with, it's not a big deal. If you're sad, you're sad. Ask for what you need. Do you need comfort, space, someone to listen? Just say it. And don't perform sadness for sympathy. Express it genuinely, not to manipulate. Here's an example. I'm feeling really sad about what happened. I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to sit with me for a little bit. Hurt is one of the most important feelings to express because holding on to it creates resentment. So name that you're hurt, not just angry. I'm hurt is more vulnerable than I'm mad, and it often lands differently. Explain the impact, help them understand why their action hurt you, and give them a chance to repair. The point of expressing hurt is usually to reconnect, not punish. Fear is hard to express because it feels like weakness, okay? So acknowledge that it might not be rational. Like, I know this might not make sense, but I'm feeling anxious about, and ask for reassurance if that's what you need. I need to hear that we are okay. That's a valid request. Name specific fears, not just I'm scared, but I'm scared that you're going to leave, or I'm scared I'm going to fail. Disappointment, it often gets expressed as anger or criticism, but naming it as disappointment is more effective. State what you're hoping for. I was really hoping we'd spend the weekend together. Express how it affected you. When that didn't happen, I felt disappointed and a bit rejected. And move toward solution. Can we plan something for next weekend instead? So, you'll express feelings differently depending on the relationship. Like with romantic partners, you can be more vulnerable and expect more emotional labor. It's appropriate to ask for reassurance, express insecurities, and have deeper conversations about needs. But don't make your partner your only emotional outlet. That's too much pressure on one person. With friends, express feelings, but also be mindful of their capacity. Check if they have space before unloading, and don't expect friends to fix your feelings or always be available. Express, but also take responsibility. With family, this is tricky because family patterns are deeply ingrained. You might need to set boundaries around what you will and won't engage with. Express feelings clearly, but don't expect family to suddenly change lifelong patterns just because you are expressing yourself differently. And if you're at work, keep it professional. I feel frustrated when meetings run over because it throws off my entire schedule. That's appropriate. If you're like, I'm furious and this is bullshit, well, that's less so, even if it's true. And sometimes you're going to express feelings well, and the other person still responds badly. What then? Don't take responsibility for their defensiveness. You can express feelings kindly, and they can still get defensive. That's their issue, not yours. Hold your boundary. I hear that you're upset, but I still need to express how I'm feeling. And do not escalate. If they are getting heated, stay calm and be like, I can see this is bringing up stuff for you. Let's take a break and come back to it. If someone consistently can't handle you expressing feelings, that's information about their capacity and the health of the relationship. And don't keep expressing to people who can't receive it. If they've shown repeatedly that they can't handle your emotions, stop bringing them to that person. Find someone else and know when to walk away, because some people will never be safe for your feelings. And that's sad, but it's reality. So when you learn to express feelings effectively, relationships deepen, vulnerability creates intimacy, and when you share how you really feel, people can actually know you. Anxiety decreases. You're not carrying around unexpressed emotions or worrying about how to say something. And needs get met more often. People can't meet needs they don't know about. Resentment dissolves. You're addressing things as they come up instead of letting them build. And you're going to feel more authentic. You're not just performing or hiding. You're just being real. Conflicts resolve faster because clear communication about feelings leads to quicker resolution. And you will attract healthier relationships. People who can't handle emotional expression filter themselves out. People who can handle it stick around. You'll feel more empowered. Using your voice to express your inner experience is powerful. It won't be perfect. You'll still struggle sometimes, but it gets so much easier with practice. So, expressing feelings, it requires vulnerability, and vulnerability is scary, but the risk of vulnerability is worth it. Yes, sometimes people will respond poorly. Sometimes you'll be hurt or dismissed, and that sucks. But most of the time, when you express feelings authentically and clearly, people respect it. They appreciate the honesty. They meet you there. And even when they don't, you have the dignity of having spoken your truth. You're not carrying around unexpressed emotions. You're living authentically. Now, the alternative, staying silent, hoping people will guess, building resentment, that's not safer. It's just feeling safer in the moment. Real safety comes from knowing you can survive expressing yourself and that you'll be okay regardless of how people respond. So learning to express your feelings better is a journey, not a destination. You don't wake up one day and have it mastered. It's something you practice and refine over time. Start where you are. If you are currently bottling everything up, start by just identifying what you're feeling. If you're already doing that, well, practice expressing small things. If you're expressing but not effectively, work on the framework that we talked about. Every step forward is progress. And remember that your feelings are valid. You don't need permission to have them or express them. And the right people in your life will appreciate your honesty, even when it's messy or uncomfortable. And you deserve to be heard. You deserve to express what's going on inside you. And the people who love you deserve to actually know you, all of you, including your feelings. All right, guys, well, that's it. Thanks for being here today. I hope this gave you some practical tools to express yourself better. Until next time, speak your truth, honor your feelings, and remember, you don't have to carry it all alone. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow. And remember, keep your energy grounded, your mind open, and your curiosity alive.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.